Bonjour, everybody. Hi, this is Neshi Lokatz. Welcome to Star Nation's organization. It's Friday morning, May 25th, 2018. Got to check on the date too, the year. It's a Friday morning, and it is a humid morning here. Humid morning. You can tell by my hair. Anyway, it is a Friday morning, and it's always a good thing. You know, I love Fridays, even though I don't have the kind of 9 to 5 job, that I have to go drive to and, punch in or any of that. Used to, so I know the feeling. But there's just something about Fridays that, the start of the weekend, and really, my days here, it doesn't really matter the day of the week, the name of the day. It could be Saturday and Wednesday for all that matters, because almost every day is basically the same, right? Well, good morning, Jocelyn. Good morning to you and Margaret. Thank you for joining me on this Friday morning. How you guys doing? It's been a full week, hasn't it? A busy week, a really full week. For me anyway, the same for you, because coffee this morning. I love that first cup, and my goodness, one of the best things. And it's not that I don't like tea. I do too. I like tea a lot. But there's just something about a cup of coffee in the morning. Good way to start the day, I think. So today's card draw is a new card. We haven't gotten this card before. And I have to say that it was, it brought back some memories for me from my childhood, and pleasant memories. And this is the card that was drawn this morning. Margaret saying, yes, it's been busy. I know. It's like somebody turned up the speed. That we went from, do you remember the old stereos when we could actually play vinyl records? When I was a kid, it was 78s, 45s, and 33 1/3. And I think it was the 78s that were really, really fast. They spun faster, right? I think that's how that went. A little blast from the past. This is the card that popped out of the deck this morning. The Peyote Ceremony with new abilities. Okay, and look at that artwork on there. Isn't that gorgeous? Gorgeous artwork. The Peyote Ceremony. And then this is the other card. Now, we've had this card before, the Pow Wow, about sharing and quickening. And there again, look at that artwork on there. And in this particular one, this reminds me so much of the Peyote Ceremony. It's got the sage and just the attire, the buckskin pants and the clout, the headdress. Reminds me of those nations across the Mississippi, on the west-hand side of the Mississippi. Yeah. Oh, Jocelyn said, yeah, the month flew by, didn't it? It certainly did. Margaret, yeah, records. And now today, that word records has a whole entirely different connotation, meaning to it. For those of us who grew up with vinyl records, we recognize that word. There's an old saying, I feel like I'm a broken record, when you keep repeating yourself, A lot of younger generations don't get that saying, that cliche, that, like a broken record, because they've never experienced it. They never experienced having to nudge the needle a little bit, to get it to play the next piece. So vinyl. Talk about, maybe that kind of fits in with this, the Peyote Ceremony and new abilities. with the evolution of all things, because it's not static. We're not in a static world. If everything keeps evolving and changing, and with the change, we have when we're talking about records, right? Uh, that changed a lot for my parents. They lived through the old Victrolas, and then to the stereos and the 8-track. My mother knows about CDs, cassette tapes. You remember those? So how we play our music and use our music has changed a lot just in our lifetime. And now you don't even have to have anything but a digital device so that you can download or live stream your music. And so you don't even have to even have it really a tangible thing in your hands or in your home. That's a new ability. It's a new ability. We can do it anywhere, right? Good morning, Linda. So good to see you in the chat room. Thanks for joining us. The card this morning is Peyote Ceremony, about new abilities. And the second card that jumped out was the Pow Wow card, about sharing. And I have to say that I understand this card on so many levels, a Pow Wow card. But for this morning, there's two items that come with this card that I can see anyway, or sense, is that it is Memorial Day weekend. And that's why I don't have the windows open, because we have new neighbors, and I think they started their long weekend projects. We all do that. It's Memorial Day weekend. Let's work on the porch, or let's build this, or let's do that, because you have people coming over. It's kind of loud out there. But the Pow Wow, the meaning of the Pow Wow is really, it's very social. It's very social. It's a coming together, a gathering of many, many different people. Sometimes it's just, local. Other times it is people from all over North America, depending on what kind of powwow it is, how big that first place dance winner gets. Or the first place of the drum contest, right? The big drums. And so it depends on a lot of things, but there's usually in those powwows, there's massive numbers of people from all over to come and dance and to participate. And then when you add the audience, the people who like to come and watch powwows and take pictures and that sort of thing, and that's when you start talking about it's global. There's people from all over the world that go and attend some of these powwows. And so it's a time of sharing. It's a time of sharing your wares, for those who do beadwork, or they sell. That's where I got my shawl from, right? My Pendleton. It was from one of the bigger powwows. But you share ideas too, and you share concepts. And sometimes, when you're a dancer, and you're competing, your outfit, your dance outfit, your regalia is the major piece of your career. How you dance is sometimes comes first and second. They're just as important. But with the outfit, sometimes what we do is we look at other people's outfits and we think, oh, that, I wonder how they did that. Or that really catches the eye, because you're trying to catch the eye of the judges. You're trying to say, look at me, right? Because you're competing. And so the innovations come along with that. Now, when we get to the Peyote card, the new abilities, this has to do with how we see our world and how we see beyond the veil, right? I don't know if many of you know about the Peyote religion, called the Native American Church. Jamie Sams, the author of the book that I'm using in the cards, the Sacred Path book, she shares about her experience with one of her mentors, one of her teachers, who down in the Southwest, and actually from Mexico. And she shares about the muscalito, which is peyote is actually it comes from a cactus, and it is a blossom, a flower. They take the buds from the cactus, and indigenous people in Mexico. This is part of a very old, very ancient belief. It's a traditional religion, Native American religion down there, and they use the bud of the flower to help them. They say travel through the crack of the universe, right? To find the crack in the universe, and so it is a narcotic, but it is one of those items that is provided by Grandmother Earth. It is a medicine to assist those who are wanting to look beyond the veil, is what we would call it, right? And her mentor that she writes about is Yaqui. And Yaqui is one of the Native American nations, tribal nations, that are on both sides of what we call the Mexican-U.S. border. In the old ones, the ancient ones, they didn't have a border that went across to separate the two countries. It was all one country. And the Yaqui Nation goes on both sides of that current border. And so her teacher, her mentor, said that his grandfather, a Yaqui medicine man, a Yaqui holy person, was visited by a small band of Apache. And the Apache were running for their lives, literally. And so the holy man was helping them. And one of the fears that they talked about and shared with him was that it was during a time frame, this is in the 1800s, late 1800s. This was a time frame that the Western expansion in the United States was happening. And Native people were being relocated, moved from their indigenous homelands to other places, usually onto reservations across the Mississippi or further south. And so the Apache were telling this holy man that, that their homes were taken, their women were taken, their children were taken, and they were broken. They felt broken. And I think that we can identify with that. Most of us have gone through our dark night of the soul, right? Most of us have experienced that feeling of immense loss, the heartbreak, right? I think we can identify with that, whether you're Native or not. And this holy man realized that one of the greatest fears they had, these Apache men, was that their soul would be taken, and because that was the last thing that they had that was truly theirs. And so that's why they were running. That's why they were trying to find a safe place. Now think about that. Don't we do that? Don't we, when we feel like we're being threatened, when we're feeling like, I don't know what's my life purpose here? I don't know what that is. And some level, there's a big vulnerability. There's a big fear that we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing here. And so we keep searching, and we keep searching for that safe place, that one place that will validate us or say, yep, this is your path. Now go do what you need to go do. This is what you need to do. So we want somebody to give us safe harbor, right? And we search for that. Our fear is that we're going to do irreparable harm to ourselves if we don't do what we came here to do. I mean, people have told me, that people who've studied with me, They want to make sure that they're on the right path and they're doing the right thing. And so, in essence, it's very similar to these Apache men, our ancestors, because this was done a long time ago. That their fear was that they were literally going to lose their soul. And so this holy man, this Yaqui grandfather, shared with them the peyote. He did ceremony for them. And now peyote, and I've never taken peyote, so this is I'm only telling you stuff that people have told me. And when you can take peyote mostly in a tea form, in a liquid form, because they brew it, right? They steep it. And so the holy man administered the tea to these Apache men, and he was there to make sure that they were safe. So he was kind of their physical guide in a sense, right? And so these men were able to experience seeing beyond the veil and realizing that their soul is immortal and that no one can steal your soul in the way that they thought, right? And so the grandfather, the Yaqui grandfather, went with them back to their home to be able to show their holy man about the peyote. So he shared the information, one medicine person to another. And so that, as Jamie Sams wrote, so that their brothers and sisters north could experience the feeling that they're safe, their soul is safe. So, when I was reading that, there were so many implications to this card. And one of the things that Jamie writes about there is take some, is that we're sharing some information, and for some we might even call it an innovation. It's something new. The people, the native people, the indigenous people in the north we don't have cactus. We don't know about the muscalito. We don't know about the medicine of that plant because we don't have it here. And so they shared it. And this sharing turned into the Native American church because it was started in the Southwest. They took something, a belief system, a religion, a traditional, conventional religion in Mexico, and they brought it north. The Apaches brought it north. And in what we call the United States now is that they were able to evolve it into an acceptable religion in the north. And I say acceptable because many people they think about or treat the peyote as a street drug. They think that this is the religion is only so people can get high, and that's not true. It's not true. Now, I have to. There is any medicine can be helpful or can be harmful. Any medicine. And so there are some people who use the peyote as a narcotic drug. If they don't use it as a part of their religion or part of a way to be able to experience their connection to the Creator. There's many religions, many belief systems that have a different way of doing that. That they can enter the crack of the universe in a different way. This is just one path. And many of the paths have been, I want to say, misused. Sometimes the power misused. Sure. let's see. I'm going to check to see what's going on in the chat room. Linda's asking if you're drawing cards, will you draw one for me, please? Actually, you know what happens, Linda, is that I draw one card in the morning, and I've been doing this for a while. I draw one card, and at first it was just for me. Is what's the energy of the day do I need to know about? And then I started sharing it on Star Nation's Instagram account. And then earlier this month in May, because I'd been doing this on the Instagram account probably since November of last year. And then I had this bright idea that you guys might actually enjoy hearing the backstory of these card draws, and what I post. And so I'm not exactly doing individual cards. If you like information about individual cards, we have a few shows here on Star Nation's, the live stream shows that do pull cards. The Tarot Journey with Julie Hedges, and that is the third Tuesday evening of the month at 9 p.m. Eastern. She does a card draw toward the end of her show. On Wednesday nights, every week, Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern is Soul Connections with Polly Jo LeBay. Now, with her, there is a time of healing. She leads a guided meditation that's channeled to help healers heal. Okay, and at the end of that, what she does is does a card draw. And so if you want to do something like that, I'm there almost every Wednesday night. And so if you'd like to do that, you're more than welcome to join us, Linda. Okay. Okay, let's see if I can get caught up with the comments here. Okay. Margaret saying we were talking about innovation, evolution, and we're talking about music and how we play music. And those of us remember vinyl. And I had mentioned cassette tapes, and Margaret saying still have some cassette tapes. So do I. Good morning, Carol. And Jill, good morning. Hi. Okay. All right, sounds good. She says she's going to come back and join us. Cindy, good morning, Cindy. Oh, don't worry about being late. Don't worry about that. It's more important that you're here and that you brought your own beverage and you can sit back and listen. And there's always the recorded show. You can always get caught up on what happened before, right? Before you. So, and Jocelyn saying, I still have records, 8 tracks and cassettes. Okay, I don't have my 8 tracks anymore. I did ditch those a while ago, but I do still have some vinyl, and I also have a stereo that plays them, and I also have cassette tapes, and I do have something that plays the cassette tapes too. My stereo does both, and it's got a turntable and it's got dual cassette tracks on it and CDs. So yeah, there's that age thing, isn't it? But hey, we've seen a lot. We've seen so many evolutional innovations happen in our lifetime. And I can't imagine my mom, 98, going to be 99, the things that she has seen and experienced in her lifetime is mind-blowing sometimes, just to sit down and talk to her about some things. Now, I'm going to get back to this card because I think it's important to share a couple of information, what Jamie Sams shares about her story with her teacher, the elder that taught her about this. Let's see, the sharing that they did with the Apaches happened in 1882. 1882 is when this Yaqui grandfather helped out the Apache men that came, and he said that this is a quote from him. He said, "No one can trap the souls of our people now. They have no fear of death." And when they talk about trapping of souls in the native world, that is a real concern. A real concern. And the ancient ones in the old days, they knew how to trap souls. Those that have crossed, right? They died, they walked on, and they're heading home. They're going home to the Creator. There's a time in between, and usually it was done for less than positive ways. We talk about bad medicine every once in a while, and that is part of it. That is part of it is trapping souls, and trapping that soul, meaning that that soul is going to work for you until you release that soul. And so that's why the Apache men had a fear about having their souls stolen, because in their time that was done quite often. And so it was a real fear. It wasn't just their imagination, right? And she goes on to say, we know that we always continue to live in one form or another. And the Apaches that had come to the Yaqui grandfather, they took on the name Muscalero, the Muscalero Apache. And I lived in Oklahoma for a short period of time, a couple of times. And the Muscalero are there, Geronimo. Some of you might recognize that name, Geronimo. Jamie Sams writes, I began to understand that death in body, or death to the ego, was still the first step to rebirth. Okay? I think that's that sentence jumped out at me. Because we're not, when you have chosen the path to express your gifts in this world, and that path that you chose happens to be a medicine path, a holy person's path. You might recognize it by the word shaman path. There is the little death. And that is a part of that path, is experiencing the other side. Some people might call it a near-death experience. But it's part of that experience, because you have to experience the letting go of the physical world. Okay. And the other thing that she talks about here is the ego dying. Now, I know for a fact that your ego does not die. It's a part of you. It's a part of the whole. How do I know that? Is because I've experienced it. The watching or feeling your ego in the way that you recognize it dissolve into something less than what you're used to is part of the dark night of the soul. Is experiencing the you that tends to try to be in control, and in that dissolving, or as she calls it, the death, is when we actually go through the crack of the universe. We see the other side. We experience it. We feel it. And so many of us, I know many people in our community, in Star Nation's community, has going through their dark night of the soul. I know that those that have experienced and have come out the other side of it they're changed. They are no longer the same person they were before, and there's a reason for that. Is because we were able to live our lives in a different way. The way that how we came in, we're remembering much more and making choices that we wouldn't have made before, right? So she says that once people see truth and touch eternity, there's no way to strip them of their dignity or of their knowing, because you've experienced it. It can't be taken from you. Even though there might be some naysayers, there might be some people who uh, don't agree, or they don't understand, that's okay. It's not their path; it's yours, and they don't have to agree. They don't have to. They don't have to um, validate it. She says that the ceremony itself, the peyote ceremony itself, is never revealed and is part of the most private ritual of the Native American church. And I think that's why there's so much mystery around it. She says the crack of the universe puts us in touch with the pure creativity and allows us to see our abilities and talents, confront our fears, and move into who and what we are becoming. The raw potential that is the true self is the knowing and brings freedom to every person. And it is freeing. It is freeing. A lot of, there's some people who think that it's the linear age, that when you get to a certain age, you don't care anymore. You don't carry around those filters and you say what you think. And I suppose some of that is true. But more likely they've experienced a dark night of the soul, and they have realized who they really are. Now, there's some people that are just cranky, that just want that you to know what their opinion is, and about just about everything. There is that, but generally speaking, that wisdom that comes with linear age. Usually has to do is because you've lived through and experienced the dark night of the soul, and are on the other side of it, and so you're sharing your experience with others in a way that maybe you're listening to somebody who's going through it, and sometimes as well as I do that there's no one that can make it better for you, because you have to go through it. And those are the people that show up and just hold your hand, hold you while you cry. And those are the people that are the most dearest to me. They are, because they were there for me. Now, here, if you look at the card again, that bird is a water bird, and that is the universal image, the totem, if you will, for the Native American church and for the Peyote ceremony. And that flower just below it is the bud of the Mescalito cactus. Okay. And here's what she tells us about what she was told about the water bird, is that the sacred medicine bird sees the pond and observes its own reflection in it. The gift of self-examination allows the seeker to see those aspects of the self that lay below the surface of the physical reality, and to discover universes of consciousness. Now, we got to think about that just a little bit. You have to remember where peyote comes from. It comes from the desert. There's not a lot of water in the desert. And so the water bird, when it flies over water, when it has the opportunity to do that and sees its reflection, that it's a very sacred moment, because it doesn't happen very often, right? And they know where those water sources are, so that they can go and see the reflection. Yeah. I'm just somebody wrote something. Jocelyn says, you should record some of your mom's stories of the past. I have. Some of them, you can hear them. She was helping me with elder wisdom, which was a show that we did when we were on BTR in the very beginning. I think there's probably 7 or 8 recordings of her helping me with the show. And you can hear those as replays. If you do the if you have iTunes podcast, Star Nation's radio network is on there. You can download those early shows to listen to those if you want to do it that way. If you go to Blog Talk Radio, those are still housed there too. Just go to search Star Nation's radio network for Elder Hour, and there's I don't know, probably 2 years or 3 years worth of recordings there. Yeah, and we talked about a lot of things. We have the ones that were most amazing to me were the most mundane, really. Makeup. Yeah, we take it for granted. We do. Because I was talking to her about that, because she is, as far as I know, she never wore makeup, but she said she did. When she was in her 20s, she did. And in her 30s, she said that makeup, the makeup that they wore was kohl eyeliner and lipstick. And they used the lipstick kind of as the rouge, the blush. And I said, well, how did you use foundation? She goes, we didn't use foundation. Well, why not? And she goes, because there wasn't a color to match us. And I sat there and I looked at her for a while, and she goes, the colors were too light. She said, you put them on, you're almost like a geisha. The makeup companies in her day, when she was wearing makeup, when she first started, they didn't make foundation to match darker colored skin. And so they never used the foundation. They only used the kohl eyeliner, the mascara. Yeah, mascara and the lipstick. And then the lipstick, they used a little bit just to cause the blush. So I know, fascinating stuff. Sorry, segued. But those recordings are there. Hey, Polly Joe. Good morning. We're talking about the card draw, which was the Peyote Ceremony, and about new abilities. This is what Jamie Sams writes about this piece about the ancestors. She says that in this time of the white buffalo, it's time to share what we have learned from our sacred points of view without trying to alter the opinion of others. Without trying to alter the opinion of others, to share, but not to convert. This understanding is becoming a new ability in itself. Honoring all the abilities of the self and in others marks the pathway of peace. So, what my grandpa, my Misha, used to say to us was, we're human. We don't know. We don't know that there is one right and true religion. If you're looking at something that is the absolute correct way, there isn't one. They're all good. And we shouldn't be judging which one is better than another. As long as that they're coming from their heart, that they're doing it in a good way, then that's their way. Not to judge them, but to listen to them. And so that's what he taught us. And so when I'm reading it here now, basically it's the same words, same intent. Now the application of this card. If the water bird has flown your way and brought you to the Peyote Ceremony card, you're being asked to recognize your immortal spirit. To recognize it. Look to the crack in the universe for new ways to develop the abilities that you can enhance your growth. Remove any denial that keeps you from developing new skills and use the talents you have to their fullest. So in my world, that means that the natural gifts that you came in with into this lifetime, there may be a new application for it, a new way of experiencing your life through your gifts in a new way. To me, that's exciting. Because, we came here to master them. We came in to master them because this is a school of duality. This is a PhD program. This is an elementary school. And so when you recognize your gifts, it's something that you're really good at and you don't even have to try. Is to hone them, to polish them, and to master them, and to be able to share them, with the world, and your soul is expressed through them, right? So I think that's really exciting, to be able to take the gifts that you came in with and to possibly use them in a new way. Yes, expanded possibility. Exactly, Polly Jo. And the Peyote Ceremony card puts you on notice that opportunities to discover the self and for the expansive growth are now possible. You're never limited as you believe you are. The resources of the self are filled with potential. Conquering limitation created in the mind will allow you to discover these new abilities and know that all goals are possible. Remember that the decision to attack your fears is the beginning of the sacred path. New abilities. Facing the fears that limit you. The water bird, right? The water bird, when it flies over the water, sees its reflection. That self-examination. I love it. I do. And so how do these cards affect us through the day? That's why I do the card draw. My intention is, please show me the information, the energy of the day that's important for us to know. So take the information that you heard today, the stories that you heard, and see what feels good to you. Discern it for yourself. What part of that is for you? Grab onto that and let the other pieces go. Grab onto what jumped out at you and grabbed you and said, listen to this piece. And remember, we also got this other card. It's about sharing. I think this is about sharing your gifts. Maybe sharing your gifts in a new way. And we get to celebrate that because these powwows are fun. They are fun. They're joyful. I'm going to one tomorrow. Wait. I'm sorry. Sunday. Yeah, Cindy, very powerful. Cindy's saying we need to discuss further. Take the gifts that you come in with and use them in a new way. Yes. If we can think of an example, because when you do that, it's a possibility, right? All right, here's one. Do you remember yesterday's card? It was Whirling Rainbow, and it was about about the Rainbow Warrior, and it was about peace, and that we can focus on unity by overcoming divisiveness and separateness, right? And in that card, it was suggested that whenever you have discord, is to place the discord in the whirling rainbow for that energy to help transform it. I know you are, Polly Jo. I think what you're doing is truly exciting, and I want to sit down and talk to you about that even more. At some point, I'm going to have to move some things around so I can make, so we have time that we can actually discuss that. Polly Jo is one of our contributing writers here at Star Nations. She's also the host of live stream shows, 2 of them. Chakra Sessions, that happens every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time, and also Soul Connections every Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. That's the one I was telling you about Healing the Healer, and she does card draws. So if you're interested in if you're a healer and you want to work on yourself and have that sacred space to do that, perfect. And if you enjoy the card draws, it's even more. It's like bonus, right? So anyway, the Whirling Rainbow. And when we do these card draws, what I do is I watch how the energy flows during the day, what synchronicities happen. Where does this card, the energy of that card, where is it showing itself to me? And yesterday, I had an afternoon business call, and I shouldn't say business, it was also personal. And it was a conversation that could have been very filled with discord. It could have been. It was not easy. It's one of those things where you have to face the fear, face the limitation, right? Using your skills, your gifts in a new way. Now, I have never used the whirling rainbow as a energy that could help, right? So we were doing the Skype call, and it was getting kind of prickly, the conversation. And in my mind, I'm thinking, what is going on here? And I even said out loud to my spiritual team, I don't know what to do here. How do I get through this and do this in a better way? How do I do this? And the person I was talking to probably thought, oh, she's lost it. But seconds after that, one of my pop-ups on my screen was coming from, I think it was YouTube. Could have been Twitter. And it's one of those pop-ups that says, if you missed it, and then it listed our live stream, the recorded live stream from yesterday. So it said whirling rainbow on it with Neshi. I saw that pop up, and I'm going, oh, okay, all right, that's a good sign. Let's use it. And so quietly to myself, I called my spiritual team and said, show me how to do this. How do I put this situation, this conversation, into the energy of the whirling rainbow? Show me how to do that. And they did. They showed me, literally, seeing the colors of the rainbow, kind of like the cone of silence, if you know what I mean, how it kind of drops down over. And it did transform the conversation. The conversation ended in a good way, in a positive way, in a more peaceful way. And we were actually talking from our hearts, our own truths, right? And so that is what I mean about these card draws, is watch how the energy kind of plays out, and how the information that was shown to us, the energy that was shown to us, how do we use it? Right? And so, but that was also using my gifts of being able to listen, and to be able to bring that into a conversation, because when you have discord, a lot of times I think that there is that level of vulnerability and a fear of being hurt that spins that conversation in a certain way, because everybody's on guard, right? Watching the other person, or listening to the other person for those words. So some people might say that you're walking on eggshells. So with being able to really listen to somebody and listen to their heart is one of my gifts. And to be able to see patterns, connecting the dots to see what is the picture here, what's really here. It's one of my gifts. I'm really good at jigsaw puzzles. That's where that part of that comes from. So, and mysteries, who done it mysteries. So it's taking my gifts and being able to express it and use it in a different way, in a new way, the new abilities. And so I'm just sharing that because that was just an example. I'm sure that there's many, many different other ways that we could talk about this too. So Polly Joe, she's saying living without regret, moving towards love in everything that we do. Yes. Yes. Living from your heart, allowing your soul to lead. Allowing your soul to lead doesn't mean that your ego is kicked to the curb or your inner child doesn't have room to play. It's just seeing yourself as a whole and not in pieces fragmented. And when your soul leads, you have the balance between your head and your heart. That's how I describe it. And so your ego is still very much needed. It just is not in the lead. It is, if you will, the servant of the heart. It's like, how do we do this? The ego is needed. That's the one that gets me to places on time. So it's still needed. Good morning, Judy. Cindy says, I'm nodding my head, yes. Yes, Judy is saying, beware of how things happen. It's really being consciously aware of your surroundings, of how the energy is flowing around you, through you, to you. Your team, you're in conversation with your team. It's like this morning, there was a cute little gray squirrel standing at the door of the academy, and when I drove up, and he kind of hopped, away and went and sat on the retaining wall. He wasn't afraid of me at all. The retaining wall is not that far from where I parked the car, and we're standing there looking at each other, and I'm talking to him, saying, "Good morning, thank you for coming. What's up? What's new? What's going on?" Because he was here for a reason. And so it's just being aware of your surroundings and how energy is coming to you, and having that awareness. Judy says we're special in our own ways and to share them. Yeah. Hey, good morning, Elise. Yes. And it's in that sharing that I believe that we meet soul to soul. We meet soul to soul. And when you're speaking your truth from your heart, it really is a magical moment. You can feel it. You can see it in their eyes. It's magical. Yeah, that's okay, Elise. I'm just glad you're here. No worries. That is the gift of the recordings, right? The recorded videos. You can always catch them because I know, gosh, we're all busy. And we can't, even though we want to be there, sometimes we can't. I've missed a couple of shows only because, sometimes family obligations. There's a couple times, I'm sorry, but I was asleep. Because sleep is, I don't get much of it, and I really need it. And so when I can take it, I do it. I need a vacation like really soon. We need one of those long weekends again. And so, hey, speaking of which, this is a long weekend. Monday morning, which is Memorial Day, right, for us here in the United States, I probably won't do a card draw on Monday, only because I'm going to have help here. And so once I get Mom situated, I'm going to go back to bed and I'm going to get some extra sleep on Monday morning. And so we won't be doing a card draw. All right. I might come on later in the day just to chat if you want. But in the morning, I'm actually going to take advantage of the help that I'm going to have here, and get some needed Z's. Some needed Z's. Yeah. Judy's saying, be safe and grateful for life. Yes. At least, not really a good excuse. Went to a garage sale. No, you don't need an excuse. That's what I'm trying to say. There's a reason why you had to go to the garage sale. You must have seen somebody, or there was something there that you needed to get, right? Had to see something, experience something there. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. I'll tell you a quick story and then I got to go. because it's almost 11 o'clock here. This was a really long video, a live stream. I don't want to monopolize your time. Years ago, it was when I was working for the state of Wisconsin. I was a planner there, and a friend of ours was having a birthday. And Paul, and it's actually his friend. Milt and I are friends too, but Paul and Milt really are close friends. And we were going to get ready for his birthday party. We were going to go over there in a couple of days or so, and Paul had not gotten Milt his birthday present yet. And I'm sitting at my desk, and it was near lunchtime. And I was thinking, geez, I don't want to stay in the building for lunch. Where should I go? And I had this nudge from my spiritual team to take a walk up State Street on the other side of the Capitol in Madison. And so, because the building I was in was on East Washington, where Spirit was directing me was on West Washington. It was a little bit of a hike because if you walked around the Capitol, it was kind of a long walk. But if you walked through the Capitol, if you cut through the Capitol, it was a little bit quicker. And so I'm cutting through the Capitol, and state senators and that kind of thing. They don't impress me. So anyway, what happened was I'm walking down West Wash, and I'm thinking, where am I supposed to be going? Am I even going to get any lunch today? And I'm walking, and I see this sign, and it's to a store that sold mugs, steins, right? I had never been in there, never even really paid attention to it. And so I walked in. It was kind of a nice store. And I'm looking around. I don't even know what I'm looking for. And so I'm talking quietly to myself, to my team. And it's like, okay, so why am I in here? What do I need to see here? And the store owner comes up to me, can I help you? And I said, yeah, I'm looking for something for a friend of ours for a birthday gift. And I'm kind of running out of ideas. And I saw your store, and I thought maybe something's here. And so we were just chatting, and who's a friend, and what's it? And I was telling him that, because it was about the military, and telling him about our friend Milt, and he reached up onto a shelf, and it was like the second, not the mugs in the front, but it was like in the next row back, reached up and grabbed a white mug, and he says, I think this might be what you're looking for. Now, I have to say that insignias and that kind of thing, I can kind of recognize them, but it's not a language I'm really familiar with, right? With military stuff. And so I'm looking at it, and it's got the right colors on it. And I said, okay. So I bought the mug. He wrapped it up. And the next day we went to Milt's party, and Milt's unwrapping this gift. And Paul hadn't seen it yet. And Milt unwrapped it, and he was looking at it, and he gets tears in his eyes. And he said, where'd you find this? He's looking at Paul, and he said, I didn't find it, she found it. And he goes, where'd you get this? And I said, on West Wash. And he said, okay, they were a limited number made. And it was the insignias and the markings on it came from, Milt was a recruiter. And so it came from a group of people that he specifically recruited. And he was very close to them, but he never got one of the mugs. So how the store owner had it, I have no clue. But this is what I'm trying to say, is that sometimes you just have to listen to Spirit saying, go here, go there. We don't understand why. And then all of a sudden things start to click, and you think, oh, that's why. I'm so glad I decided to say yes to my guides and say, all right, let's go. Did I get lunch that day? No, I didn't. But I found something for a friend that was very meaningful. So, Elise, long story to say, no worries. Totally understand. Yeah. All right, guys, I am going to say have a great rest of the day, Friday, and have a wonderful holiday weekend if you're one of those who celebrate it. Memorial Day here in the United States is about remembering those who have passed away. It used to be just from the military. And a few years ago, many years ago, they extended it, they being the government, extended it to include anybody who's passed away. And so I try to make it to my dad's gravesite, but it's an hour and a half away from here, and it's kind of hard to travel with, I have a travel restriction called a 98-year-old mom. And so, but, when you go to the cemeteries, you'll see flags and insignias and all kinds of stuff. Because my dad's gravesite is in King, Wisconsin, and it is at the Veterans, the VA's, one of their big cemeteries that they have. Every state has one or two of them. And so he was buried in military fashion and all that. And so anyway, if you do celebrate any of that, prayers are with you and with your families. And as you remember those who walked on, it's kind of like our version of Dia de Muertos down in Mexico, Day of the Dead. It's kind of like that. Erin's here, my niece. Hi, Erin. I was just signing off. So you're just at the very end. I was just talking about trying to get over to King to see Grandpa's gravesite and to leave some flowers or something for Memorial Day weekend. Or see you at the Pow Wow if you're going to go to the Pow Wow. We're thinking about going on Sunday. See, we got some family stuff going on here. So anyway, guys, have a great weekend, and I will be back tomorrow morning with tomorrow morning's card draw, and we'll see what Spirit has to say then, huh? All right. Have a good day. Bama Mina until we see each other again.